And I'm Reverend Emmett Price.
And I'm Reverend Irene Monroe.
Irene, can you believe we are back for season 4? I mean, when we started this little experiment, I had no idea that folks would be interested in not only listening to us, but also following and engaging with us.
Oh yeah, it's been an amazing journey. One that, again, we're back for season 4 with our core audience.
It's amazing. It's amazing. Well, before we head into our season opener on Black women, the Black church, and R. Kelly, let us thank each and every one of our listeners and viewers. Thank you for listening to us on the various podcast apps and for watching the actual live recording of the podcast on our YouTube channel. We are grateful for your support, your encouragement, your feedback, your reviews, and your comments.
And a tsunami of thanks for me for just coming back for season 4. And I want to thank our amazing producers, Cavante Smalls and Kyla Wright.
All right, Irene, season 4.
All right.
Here we go.
I didn't do this stuff. This is not me, y'all. I'm fighting for my life. Y'all killing me with this. I gave y'all 30 years of my career.
Robert.
30 years of my career.
Irene, on September 27, 2021, Robert Sylvester Kelly was found guilty on 9 counts, including racketeering, sexual exploitation of a child, kidnapping, bribery, sex trafficking, and violation of the Mann Act, which goes to 1910. It stipulates that it is a felony to engage in interstate transport of any girl or woman for the purpose of prostitution or other illegal sexual acts. Now, Irene, in 2002, almost 20 years ago, Robert was charged with 21 counts of producing child pornography and was acquitted in 2008. Why has it taken almost 20 years to hold him legally accountable?
Right, 20 plus years to hold him legally accountable. And I have a couple of reasons for that. There are a number of institutions that have failed Black women and has failed the Black community. One of which is the judicial system, police, because whenever you call the police about domestic violence or sexual abuse, there's that sort of, hazy kind of attitude that they have towards Black women. But you also got to look at the Black community. Come on, you Black brothers, because you knew it was going on. You have no problem calling us Nubian queens and sapia darlings. But when it comes to knowing that, look, there's a brother who abuses his girlfriend or his wife, all of a sudden, the brothers clamp down, the Black community gets quiet, and then also the Black church, too. All of these institutions working intersectionally and individually are culpable and should be held accountable for 20 plus years of little Black girls saying what Tarana Burke has moved into a movement, Me Too.
All right, you done handed out a whole lot of tickets right here. I mean, you have passed them out all across the place. Let me just say that this interview with Gayle King was on CBS's This Morning back on March 6, 2019. So you got the police, you got the judicial system, you got the Black community, you got the Black church.
The brothers.
I mean, clearly, well, you said that, and the brothers,
and
right,
brothers,
who were involved in. All right, come on, you passing out all the tickets. You arresting everybody for this. So, I mean, clearly, folks were enamored by his music and by his talent and by his, robust repertoire of stuff. However, yes, you are absolutely right. Everybody needs to have their hands slapped on this one, because this has gone on way too long, over 20 years. This is horrible. And this guy is sick.
Oh, yeah. Oh, he's more than sick here. At this point, he becomes a monster. He really does. But I think that really bothers me here is just, you're right. The whole community is held accountable for this, because where we cannot really depend on the judicial system or the police to protect us, we do expect the church, the community, and our men to protect us. And yes, his music is intergenerational. We hear it at weddings, we hear it at funerals, we hear it at church, we hear it at graduations. It becomes, and one particular song, I Fly Away, has become an anthem. But what
You mean I Believe I Can Fly?
Oh, is that right? Okay.
Now come on. You operated in the You operated in the prophetic. Now you want him to fly away.
I do. But you know what it is? I'm thinking of the other song, I'll Fly Away, that we do sing at funerals here. But his song, I Believe I Can Fly, what he thought for all these 20 plus years is that he believed that he could lie and get away with it here. So, I mean, there's a lot of things that bothers me about this moment, because it's not a happy ending. It's tremendous damage here. But let's look at the fact that how the church has, again, complicit, because some of these children go to church. Their parents were asking for help. It took this series. Surviving R. Kelly was a 6-part series. These were church people. Come on. But again, we caught up in this sort of theological trope that Black liberation holds up, which is to fly. You either fly away as a form of resistance here. So what bothers me about the silence about it, and many of our listeners have heard about it, why did the church be complicit to it? Let me tell you, when he was acquitted of a case in 2002, he was lauded as a hero by Reverend Meeks and a church in Chicago. So again, you have the brothers there in the cloth, not in the cloth, on the street, all liking R. Kelly. It has a lot to do with the way in which Black masculinity is certainly constructed. It has a lot to do, again, with how we as a community will hold up Black talented men at the expense of their moral, depravity. We've seen it with Clarence Thomas, which nobody liked, but we had no problem calling Anita Hill out as, a woman scorned. We all saw it with Bill Cosby. It took a moment. It took a moment for the Black community to understand a man that is lauded up as high as he is also a sexual predator. So, I mean, there's a lot of things that we have to look at in terms of how we are complicit. Now, I can argue and say, well, one of the reasons for the church is that when you have a politic of of silence and respectability, you don't have an embodied theology, well, then you don't have people having agency to talk about sexuality and to talk about sexual abuse. So, I mean, we got a church on the down low on that. So that's one problem here. But then let's talk about our brothers here. Brothers know that this brother was, a predator. Why didn't they speak out? That's what I want to know. What's up with the brothers here? I mean, they always going to call us my Nubian queen and my Sapia darling. Well, where's the backup?
I mean, you throwing tickets out. I mean, you handing them out. I mean, I can't speak for these populations, and I'm certainly not going to defend them in this moment. I can tell you personally that early on, once the accusations were brought to fold back in 2002, and actually even before that, I stopped listening to R. Kelly. And I'm going to be very transparent here. I stopped listening to R. Kelly back in 1995. See, because in 1994, Aaliyah, a phenomenal R&B, superstar at a very young age. She was 15 in 1994. Apparently, there was an illegal marriage.
That's right.
And her first album came out, Age Ain't Nothing But a Number. Which R. Kelly wrote and produced the entire album. And in 1995, at the request of Aaliyah's family, a Michigan judge annulled that illegal marriage. I stopped listening to him
then. And that signals something right then and there, that something was wrong. And then
clearly.
Right. Something was clearly wrong. And then we get these videos of him in a shower with a girl. We get all these, and the point about it is that the community, you didn't have to listen to BET. We didn't have Black Twitter then, but everybody in the community and in the black community, meaning nationally, knew about R. Kelly. There used to be jokes about R. Kelly.
Well, I mean, let me problematize this a little bit, because when that came out, even Aaliyah, suggested that it didn't happen. So many people close to them on both R. Kelly's side, but also Aaliyah's side, suggested it didn't happen. And then, of course, she dies tragically. And then that whole thing kind of dissolves because nobody wants to bring her back into this scandal.
But it signals something, Emmett. See, this is the problem.
I've said that. I'm agreeing with you. You trying to arrest me again. I'm agreeing with you. All I'm saying is that because people didn't necessarily have proof, and because that whole situation kind of diffused once Aaliyah passed away tragically, you really didn't have it there anymore.
Yeah. Well,
right?
It there. See, and then again, this is where the community, the police, and the judicial system fails us, because the data, and this was way before Tarana Burks came out with the Me Too movement in 2002. We knew that 60% of Black girls are sexually abused before the age of 18. Listen, let's even go back further than that, okay? Those of us who were watching Oprah, she talked about it because she talked about her abuse here, okay? If anybody was trying to wake up the Black community about it, Oprah did it for 25 years. So my point about it is that there is a confluence of things about why we don't talk about sexual abuse, sexuality, and why it continues to be a kind of vicious cycle, because we see a brother, a talented brother, like R. Kelly, and we give him a pass. See, now what we don't want to talk about also, and this is where I say the church becomes problematic. Let's talk about Aretha. I just have to throw it in. 12 years old, pregnant, has a kid, comes back at 14 here. They knew. They listen, you have to ask a question. Okay, even if she was a promiscuous child, because we always have to face those kinds of stereotypes, that we're promiscuous. The community called her fast. Well, called everything in terms of, a siren. We grow too fast. Our bodies grow too fast. Our bodies entice men as well as young boys. So my point about it is that it's a history of this, because if you even just go to the Queen of Soul, she had a child at age 12, then another child at 14. Okay, and nobody asked, where's child services? Why is this child at age 12 pregnant and then come back okay? Because the church, meaning given who her father was, Reverend Franklin, nobody's going to question that. So that's how the church becomes complicit, because if you say that the church is central to the Black community, church and unchurched, then it needs to talk about this issue. It had an opportunity, went to Reverend Meek's church and got absolution.
You were pretty worked up about this.
Oh, I'm very, you know why? I got to just say one other thing. I was part of a whole movement to get him off of BET, to get him off of Tom Joyner's show, okay? Other Black radio shows. We have been screaming to the top of our lungs, pull R. Kelly, pull R. Kelly. See, it bothers me because again, I can even go to the civil rights movement. Let's look at Reverend James Bevel. Okay, he played Common in Selma.
Common played him.
Oh yeah, right. Common played him. Thank you. Yeah. No, let me not implicate this brother here. Common is a good dude. But the thing is this: people in the civil rights movement all knew about Reverend Bevel. Finally, it took his daughter, his youngest daughter, to say, you know what, this has been going on for decades in our family. And he didn't even deny it. He said, yeah. Okay. He said, yeah. So my point is that we know what's going on and we don't speak up.
Listen, I I'm going to speak up right now.
Okay,
I'm going to speak up.
Thank you.
I am going to speak up. We need to stop this because you've taken us to the civil rights movement with Reverend Bevel. You've taken us back to Detroit with Reverend C.L. Franklin.
That's right.
And now we're in Chicago with Robert Sylvester Kelly, who you're suggesting was enabled by a number of pastors. I mean, you have just not only have you been throwing out tickets, but you have just called the roll call. I mean, this is absolutely disastrous because 20 years plus, people have known that there was something suspicious, peculiar, and I'll put nasty going on, and nobody did anything. There were certain people who tried to, blow the whistle and tell, but his celebrity was so huge that the people were enamored by his celebrityhood, and nobody wanted to touch him. And even when they tried, it still didn't work. So I'm going to agree with you, Irene, that the legal system, the jurisprudence system, the black community, the black church, and brothers. But I'm going to also say that there's a human condition here that when people have such great celebrity, whether they have earned it or not, that it almost shields them from being, dealt with as a human being, and that's problematic.
No, I don't.
So let me say this before you get there. It is problematic.
Okay,
how's it not problematic?
You're missing the bigger issue, but go ahead.
I'm missing a bigger issue. I'm agreeing with you. I think we both need a break. We'll be right back. You got me all worked up. We'll be right back. This is the All Rev'd Up podcast. I'm not saying it right. I can't even get us to the break. Let's take a break. This is just the season opener for season 4. We can't even get to the break. Irene, we need a break. Can we agree on that?
For a moment.
All right. Let's get this break in for a moment.
But what happened to standards? What happened to bare minimums? You a fan of R. Kelly? You want to help R. Kelly? Then get some counseling for R. Kelly. Introduce him to some older women. Hide his camcorder. But don't pretend like the man is a hero.
This is the All Rev'd Up podcast. We are back. Both Irene and I have cooled off just a tad. I think I've cooled off a little bit more than she has, but we will find out. This clip was from season 1 of Aaron Magruder's Boondocks, and it aired on November 13, 2005. The episode is entitled The Trial of Robert Kelly. Irene, you said that everybody turned their back on this, that nobody stood up. Here's Aaron Magruder in his first season of his show, The Boondocks. He took it on. So there were some brothers, since you invoked the brothers, there were some brothers who both privately and publicly stood up and said enough is enough, and we are not down with this. Can I get an amen right there?
No, you cannot. No. Because but by the time Aaron comes on, we've been a decade going for it. Going for it. Like, please hear our plea. But I did leave out another industry that also failed us, but certainly he was a cash cow for the music industry. Let's be honest here. And that's what bothered me too. There was no accountability in terms of, because he hit the R&B did he hit gospel charts? He hit the R&B. You still stuck on it. I Believe I Can Fly. He had other hits. I mean, he had a whole robust, repertoire, which I don't want to talk about because I don't want people uploading that music right now and listening to it. So please don't mention his songs again, because I think that does a disservice. But yeah, I mean, the music industry certainly was complicit in this. Absolutely. Yeah. Are you gonna fight me on that, Irene? No. You're the musicologist. Now that I will never fight. I'll never fight you on that here. But I do find that what happens, and I love the fact. Yes, he definitely needs counseling. He needed it for long before he accumulated this amount of notoriety. But I think what really bothers me about it again is that yes, people did buy his music. People are still buying his music even during the trial. That bothers me. That money can be used to not only to his survivors, but to the Me Too movement. I'm sure Tarana Burke would definitely appreciate that. But I feel like, we have to teach young girls to love themselves, to empower, to be empowered.
Yeah.
And the problem is then where do you find that? Because if you're not getting it from the church, you're not getting it from the brothers, you're not getting it from the community. You're not, I'm just getting, how does this child begin to love herself so that she does not fall into this kind of trap? And the interesting thing is because a lot of them think that these kids were what they call them hood rats. They were trying to pimp on his golden ticket. But these kids came from a wide swath of different types of family, economically, socially, and also religiously. So again, not having that needed talk about sexuality, sexual predators, empowering young women to just own their body, to take control of their bodies. I think we will continue to have this because our community, meaning the Black community, is not talking about it.
I agree with you on that, Irene. I mean, if you go to Wikipedia, he's listed this way: songwriter, record producer, and convicted sex offender. I mean, I think that those things are very important. But I want to ask you this, because I'm curious now, and I am down for Black women. I'm down for Black girls. There's no question about that. But how do you feel about someone like Michael Jackson and the other side of it?
Mm-hmm. And Bill Cosby, sure.
No, because you already invoked Bill Cosby. Bill Cosby was still sexually offending women. I'm talking about Michael Jackson and the other side of it.
Yeah, offending little boys.
Thank you.
Yeah. I mean, sexual abuse. Yeah, but see what happens about this. See, listen, I'm not trying to prioritize that Black women, need to take, a higher, need more attention on this issue. We just need attention about it. Period. Yeah, the raping and the sexual molestation of Black boys. Of course it goes on. That's more reason why you would think brothers would come to our defense here. So by all means, I'm not prioritizing it. I'm just saying that if there was some kind of conversation about it, and if you had a different construction of Black masculinity, then more brothers would be talking about it. I mean, it's a shame that they carry that pain too, because one of the things that I think we learned about R. Kelly was that he was molested. So we got to understand that children and women are the sort of demographic group that are more likely to encounter domestic violence, rape, and all kinds of assaults on their bodies.
I agree with you. I'm hoping that, and I know that you have a closing word for us shortly, but I'm hoping that you will give this brother a little bit of credit for being willing and able to talk about it, since you're throwing tickets at all the other brothers. Speaking of tickets and the other brothers, R. Kelly is still in jail. He's in Brooklyn, and he's set for sentencing on May 4th in 2022. And I hope they find a special place under the prison for him that is as hot as hell and with no ventilation, so that he can be as tortured as he clearly did to a lot of these young women over the years. So,
well, see, I don't feel that way. I don't want him to be tortured. I know he's not going to get any kind of counseling unfortunately, in jail. I also feel this. He's more likely now to be raped and sexually abused while he's there, because one thing, that is high on a lot of inmates' lists is don't mess with children, and he did. So I feel sorry for him because he needs to pay for his crime, but I don't think he needs to be tortured, because he's been a tortured soul even during these heinous acts.
Well, the torturing that I meant that he was under the prison. I was
Yeah.
not trying to suggest that
Yeah.
he needs to be raped by any other guy.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah, no, I know that, but
let me be clear about that,
Yeah.
because
Yeah.
but it's interesting to hear you be the softie on this one here.
Well, no, you know why? Because you know, listen, as pastors, I have had to deal with the person being raped as
Yeah.
well as the rapist.
Yeah.
I've had to give communion, okay, to the rapist,
Yeah.
of course, and the survivor.
No, that's right.
Okay, and these are hurt people.
Yeah.
And I just want that. So yes, he should go to jail, but he certainly needs during those, because he's going to be there for the rest of his life.
Well,
He needs counseling.
you are such a good minister. I'm gonna say this. I'm gonna say this. You are such a good minister, and you are such a good minister that we want to hear a closing word or a benediction from you today.
All right. Well, this is for us all. This is not just for the survivors of sexual assault, but this is for us all. Which is that I just want to end on a few words about loving yourself. And one of this, it's not that I have a solution, but I have some thoughts about it. And it's this, that when you love yourself enough, you begin to change. You quit settling for too little. You begin to take the gift of your life seriously and embrace the parts of you that is sacred. When you love yourself enough, the impulsive part of you learns to wait for the right time. When you love yourself enough, you start feeling all your feelings and not mask it with drugs, alcohol, or sex. And you ask yourself, who in me is feeling this way? And when you feel anxious, angry, restless, or sad, and if you listen patiently, you discover who needs your love, and that's you. And when you love yourself enough, you learn to meet your needs and not call it selfish. And then you begin to plant your feet on solid ground. You'll change the way you see the world. You'll come to know your own goodness and self-worth, and you evolve to see that in others as well. You no longer live with criticism, prejudice, hostility, ridicule, or shame. But rather you begin to see this. You begin to see the image of the sacred in yourself, the image of the sacred as yourself, and the image of the sacred in each other. Ashe.
Ashe.
And amen.
Amen. All Rev'd Up is brought to you by us, the Revs. Our amazing producers are Kyla Wright and Cavante Smalls.
Music for this episode is from Reverend Price's son and musical prodigy, Emmett G. Price IV. All Rev'd Up is distributed by GBH.
Additional thanks to Bob Kempf, Elizabeth O'Brien, May He, Devin Robbins, Meredith Neerman, and Zach Waldman.
If you like what you hear, let us know. Give us a review on Apple Podcasts and follow us at All Rev'd Up Pod on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and YouTube.
Feel free to send us a note, a question, or a comment to allrevduppod@gmail.com. We'll be back